If this is your first time cruising from Southampton, then keep watching. First-time cruisers can sometimes find this busy port confusing, so I've put together your ultimate guide with everything you need to know about cruising from Southampton. Whether you're driving, flying in, catching public transport, in this video I'll cover the best travel options to get you to Southampton, along with all of the information you need to get to your cruise terminal. I'll also cover the best places to park, including the cheapest and most secure parking I've found. I'll give you the best places to stay, depending on which cruise terminal you're sailing from, and how you're getting to port. And finally, I'll share with you some of the great places for ship spotting in and around Southampton. Hi, I'm Steph. I've been taking cruises from Southampton for the last 20 years. If you're new to my channel and you found this video useful, then please subscribe, comment, or even share this video with someone you know who'll be cruising from Southampton this year. Okay, let's first talk about how to get to Southampton before your cruise. Southampton welcomes around 2.5 million passengers each year, and as cruise capital of Northern Europe, it's pretty well connected with links to public transport and airport connections for international travellers. The rail and coach station are both located quite near to each other in the city centre, and all 5 cruise terminals are within a 10-minute taxi ride. The closest airport is Southampton Airport, and the journey between the airport and port takes around 20 minutes by taxi. Long-haul flights and international passengers are more likely to arrive at Heathrow or Gatwick. Heathrow is about 70 miles away, and the journey takes around 90 minutes by car if traffic is flowing well. Gatwick is slightly further away and can take around 2 hours if travelling by car. If you're driving to Southampton, then you'll probably arrive on the M3 or M27 motorways. From the motorway, the Exeter Southampton docks is well signposted, and there's plenty of signs on your way into the city too. Remember to plan for extra time on your journey into the city, as Southampton can get busy on port days, especially at the height of the season. So to avoid last-minute stress, I always recommend you arrive the day before you set sail. More about where to stay later on. All the cruise terminals are well signposted in the city, and all can be accessed from the A33. Depending on your terminal, you'll need to enter via a specific dock gate. If you're arriving by coach, Evesway or Intercruises coaches will drop you off and pick you up directly outside your cruise terminal. You can also catch a National Express coach to Southampton, but you will need a taxi to take you from the coach station to your terminal. If you're arriving by train, then Southampton Station is the station you need, and it's located not more than a 10-minute taxi ride to all the cruise terminals. I use the Trainline app and website to help me plan my rail journeys and buy tickets. Taxis are plentiful on cruise day, and there are taxi ranks outside the coach and rail stations. If you're staying the day before, you can also pre-book a taxi through your hotel. Check out my blog post for more information on operators and their numbers. You might want to walk the last part of your journey from the centre of Southampton to your cruise terminals. The walk to all cruise terminals is on pretty level ground, and I've put more information on typical walking times and distances in my blog post. If you're flying into Heathrow or Gatwick, or if you decided to stay in London for a few days before your cruise, then your cruise line might actually offer coach transfers. Or alternatively, you can book a private transfer instead of travelling by rail or coach. More detailed information on the best ways to travel to Southampton from London, Heathrow and Gatwick are all in my blog post. With 5 cruise terminals in Southampton, it's important to know which one you're sailing from. Despite them all being located within about 2 miles of each other, you don't want to arrive at the wrong terminal only to realise that you have to make your way across the city in busy port day traffic. So let's look at the terminals. The Queen Elizabeth II terminal is the furthest out of the city. Opened in 1966, it's the second oldest cruise terminal in Southampton and was last refurbished in 2016. It's the last terminal you'll pass when sailing out of Southampton and the first one you'll see when arriving home. You can access the terminal via dock gate 4 just off the A33. It's not the busiest terminal in Southampton, but a few different cruise lines use this terminal throughout the year. Keep watching for my recommendations of where to stay and park if your cruise leaves from here. Close to the QE2 terminal is the Ocean Terminal. Opened in 2009, it's quite a large terminal and can accommodate the larger XL class ships such as Carnival Celebration, Aida Prima and Nova, and Avia and Iona. Again, you'll need to use dock gate 4 for this terminal. If you arrive too early for your embarkation, then you might be asked to wait in the queue outside in a covered area, as the terminal itself can only seat a maximum of 1,000 people. All the check-in desks for departures are on the upper level and arrivals are on the ground level. All the cruise terminals have vending machines and a Cianos cafe, which serves tea, coffee, soft drinks and alcohol, and hot and cold food. And there's a taxi rank and a short stay car park outside each terminal. However, none of the Southampton cruise terminals have an ATM or cash machine, payphones or Wi-Fi. Okay, so let's now move on to the Western Docks and head to the City Terminal. As you can tell by its name, the City Terminal is one of the closest terminals to the city centre. If you're driving, you can access the terminal either through Dockgate 8 or Dockgate 10. Ships sailing out to the City Cruise Terminal usually are Norwegian Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity Cruises, MSC Cruises and Fred Olsen Cruises. And in the past, it has been known to host a Queen or two. Okay, and now we move to Southampton's newest cruise terminal, the Horizon Cruise Terminal. If you're sailing with MSC Cruises, it's highly likely that you'll sail from the Horizon Cruise Terminal. Some other cruise lines also use this on a regular basis too, such as Norwegian Cruise Line, Fred Olsen Cruises and some of the smaller ships such as Regent Seven Seas, Silversea, Azamara and Oceania. Just like the City Cruise Terminal, you'll check in through security first before you go upstairs and then you can check in for your cruise. And from Southampton's newest cruise terminal on to Southampton's oldest cruise terminal, the Mayflower Terminal. Opened in 1960 and then modernised in 2015, you'll find the following cruise lines usually departing from here. It's a little further out, about a 25-minute walk from the rail station, but a taxi will take you no more than 5 to 10 minutes, even in busy traffic. Like the Ocean and Queen Elizabeth II terminals, you'll check in for your cruise first before you need to clear security. And as you wait for security, you'll also see a great view of the bow of your ship, so remember to take some photos if you have time. After you clear security, it's just one floor up and there's also a walkway and then an air bridge to your ship. So that's your brief tour around the 5 cruise terminals in Southampton. My tip is always to check with the ABP Southampton website or Cruise Mapper to get information on where your cruise line will dock. It's also best to check with your travel agent and cruise line just in case there's been a last-minute change. Sometimes your cruise will depart from one terminal and return to another. So now we know where your ship will be docked, it's time to plan where the best place is to park your car if you're driving. Keep on watching for my recommendations of the best places to stay to. There are so many options for parking in Southampton, it can be difficult to work out which one is best for you. So keep watching as I take you through the pros and cons of all the different parking options. The first option we'll talk about is the official port parking. These are the nearest and most convenient car parks to each cruise terminal, and as a result, they tend to be the most expensive. But they are also very secure and popular, so they book up early and there are rarely spaces available if you turn up on the day. So it's always best to book in advance. There are 2 providers, ABP and CPS. ABP works with Celebrity Cruises, Disney Cruise Line, Fred Olsen, MSC, NCL, Royal Caribbean, Silversea and Azamara. CPS on the other hand usually works with P&O, Cunard and Princess. These long-stay car parks are conveniently located right next to each terminal, and the process for parking with ABP is slightly different to CPS. With CPS, you'll be directed to a specific lane when you arrive at the terminal, a member of staff will book in your vehicle, you'll hand over your keys and be issued with a barcode receipt. A fully insured driver then takes your vehicle to a secure compound within the port. On return, you'll be directed from the terminal to the key collection point. With ABP, you'll be directed to your car park your car yourself and then keep your keys with you for the duration of your cruise. Next up is the public car parks. You may or may not be comfortable leaving your car in a public car park for 2 weeks on your cruise, but there are some public car parks within Southampton which are a cheaper alternative to the official port parking. And many of these are barrier controlled entry and exit or are covered, have CCTV, a park mark or the equivalent. Plus, many of the hotels in Southampton city centre actually recommend some of these car parks if you're staying with them. The car parks are centrally located so you can easily drop your bags off at the terminal first and then head to the car park. You can then either walk back or get a taxi back to the terminal. It's a little bit more hassle, but the cost savings compared to the official port parking are quite significant, and I'll show you just how much in a moment. The closest public car park to the Ocean and Queen Elizabeth II terminals is the Triangle car park. The cost is around £12.50 per day, but check out my blog post for the most up-to-date prices. I've also used the NCP car park in Portland Place a few times, and this works out around about the same amount each day. A tip for you if you're going to be walking to port from this car park is to park on the lower levels. Another advantage with this car park is that you can actually book in advance, which is great for parking here at peak times. And I want to now show you the cheapest and my personal favourite place to park in Southampton, West Quay Shopping Centre multi-storey. It's conveniently located, about a 15-minute walk from the Ocean Cruise Terminal and even less from the City and Horizon terminals. And here you can see how much I paid for 11 days worth of parking. Again, check out my blog post for the most up-to-date prices. If you don't want the hassle of finding a parking space or don't want to leave it to the last day, then you might want to look at a park and cruise option. There are various providers who offer this service, but two of which we've seen regularly around port and have good recommendations on Facebook groups are Penguin Parking and Air Links. Costs vary throughout the season but tend to range between £160 for 1 week and £260 for 2 weeks. If you want to drive to port and be able to pick your car up rather than waiting for a minibus transfer, then a meet and greet option might be something to consider instead. It's very similar to the park and cruise options. You head to the short stay car park at the cruise terminal that you're leaving from, meet with and hand over your keys to a representative, and then your car will be driven to and parked up in a secure compound, and then returned to you at the short stay car park on the day you return from your cruise. Prices for these services vary but are around £100 per week. Another option is alternative parking. These can range from private driveways, gated parking or valet parking services. Two of the most popular sites to book alternative parking is on the Your Parking Space or Just Park websites. The security on these sites varies, so check out what you're comfortable with for the price. But on the whole, they can be much cheaper than any other option. And finally, if you want a totally stress-free option, then you can go for a stay, park and cruise approach. Many hotels in and around Southampton offer deals where your accommodation the night before is also packaged up with breakfast, transfers to and from the terminal and up to 15 days parking. These are really convenient packages and can sometimes be comparable to or just a little bit more expensive than parking with ABP or CPS. If you need parking and accommodation, this could be a really cost-effective option to add into the mix, and it's always worth doing a price comparison. To save you the hassle of looking for which hotels offer this service, here's a list of the stay, park and cruise hotels, and in my blog post I've also split them out further to those which are in central Southampton and those which are a little further out. There's even booking links on my post to make this super easy for you too. Regardless of how you're arriving into Southampton, my firm recommendation is to arrive in port the day before your cruise. This not only reduces the stress levels on the day of your cruise, but it also ensures that you don't fall foul of last-minute travel hassles or delays, which could, in the worst case, make you miss your ship. There are so many options to choose from in and around Southampton for all budgets and preferences. Check out some of my other videos and hotel reviews which I've put in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe because I'm always adding to this list. There's a cluster of hotels quite near to the City and Horizon cruise terminals, just off the A33. These are also convenient for the West Quay Shopping Centre, coach and railway stations, but here's a rundown of all the closest hotels to the cruise terminals. And more information is in my blog post where you can see where these are located on the map. If you do decide to arrive in port a day or two before your cruise, then there's plenty to see in Southampton to keep you amused. A great way to get you excited about your cruise is a bit of ship spotting. During the summer months, there's always ships sailing from Southampton across the whole weekend. So there's plenty of places for ship spotting. Let me show you some of these great spots. These can be great for loved ones who want to wave you off, or even if you want to get a quick photo with your ship in port before you sail. I've picked out some spots in central Southampton, but there are also a few a little further down Southampton Water too. A favourite if you're staying in central Southampton is to head to Mayflower Park. Right next to the City Cruise Terminal, there's also plenty of parking and it's a nice place to stretch your legs. If you're in Southampton on Sunday before your cruise, then a trip to God's House Tower is a fascinating place to visit in itself. But you can also combine this trip with a bit of ship spotting from their roof terrace. Another spot in Southampton is Town Quay, where you get the benefit of watching ships not only from the ocean terminal, but also ships sailing past from the Mayflower, Horizon and cruise terminals. As I said, there are a few spots a little further out, such as Calshot Spit. This offers great close-ups of the ships as they turn out of Southampton Water into the Solent. And you can combine this with a visit to Calshot Castle, which was Henry VIII's coastal fort and is now looked after by English Heritage. And there's also a cafe, bar and picnic area here. For a great view of the ships just as they leave port, past Dock Head and the Queen Elizabeth II terminal, is Hythe Marina. While you can drive here or catch a bus, you might even want to take the Hythe ferry over to Hythe Pier, which leaves from Town Quay in Southampton. On the other side of Southampton Water is Western Shore. There's a small car park here and you can combine ship spotting with a nice evening walk along the coastline before your cruise the next day. If you'd like to do some sightseeing from the water and make it more of an occasion, then the steamship SS Shield Hall runs frequent day trips throughout the summer and it's a fun way to get up close to some of your favourite ships and ocean liners. And finally, the absolute best place for ship spotting in Southampton is always going to be on the balcony of your cabin or on the top decks of your cruise ship just before you depart on your cruise. I hope this video has helped you plan a stress-free cruise from Southampton. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this video useful. Or perhaps even share this video with someone you know who's sailing from Southampton this year. Bon voyage!